Hi everybody, we are here for Tuesday Talks. Now, Tuesday Talks is all about getting to know an individual, finding out what makes them tick and what do they care about, how their career reflects that and keeps them motivated and keeps them going. Now, today we have an amazing person called Natali. Natali is a ICF certified life coach with main focuses on relationships, sexuality, feeling of shame and guilt. Natalie's client start living freely and being shamelessly themselves. Wouldn't we all want to be living shamelessly and freely ourselves as well? So let's get Natalie on and get to hear her story. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, Zishan.
Hi, thank you for joining Tuesday Talks and thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting.
Now, I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to expand on that and let us know who you are, what do you do, and the biggest question that everybody has on Tuesday Talks is always, why do you do it, Natalie?
Whenever people ask me on this kind of podcast or live streams, who are you, Natali? I get a bit lost because how can you put a description of yourself in a few words, right? And if I had to put it, let's say in one word, then I'm a human being or I'm, free energy, like free-spirited energy. This is how I would describe myself. I'm a very free-spirited human being. As to what I'm doing, as you said, I'm a certified life coach and counselor, and I focus in relationships and sexuality. And like you said, living shamelessly and without guilt. This is my main focus. Interestingly enough, I never advertise myself as ADHD coach, but I also have a lot of ADHD coaching clients because I do have knowledge in this area and I do have ADHD as well. So I really understand what my clients feel. And as to why, this is also an interesting question. I guess it all just makes sense to me. My background and my first high education or degree is in physiotherapy. So I studied medicine. And as I was studying, and then as I graduated and I was working in a hospital, I specialized in cardiac surgery. And this is where I saw how people's life choices can really lead them somewhere very dark and, almost hopeless. And what I noticed there is that their habits or their thoughts and behaviors usually come not only from, let's say, the disease itself, which is a somatic expression, but it also comes from the mindset and from their childhood traumas and compensatory mechanisms. And this is where I understood that there is no health without mental health, basically. So this is when I started thinking about, I would like to be a psychologist. And then, 3 years ago now, I went and studied psychology. And as I was studying this, I realized, I want to work with people already. So I decided to get certified as a life coach. And this is what I do now.
Wow. That's an amazing journey that you've shared with us. And, and I can see the pivotal moments in terms of where you were as a physiotherapist to going into a psychology side of things. That's like it's a whole 360 turn in some people's point, right? View, because the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of where once worked with the actual of exercising and movements and everything, and then the other one's actually working on how your well-being is, so that you can that take care of yourself and your body and everything else, right?
Yeah, but to me it is quite logical because even when we go to doctors, oftentimes we think, or at least I thought, and my friends or my acquaintances and family members, I wish that doctors looked at me as a whole.
I have that
instead of instead of targeting one issue, which might be coming from totally else, something totally else. So to me, psychology and mental health is just a major factor that contributes to our well-being, which also consists of physical health and you know, other aspects. So that turn wasn't, I guess to me it was very logical.
Yeah, I suppose exactly. I mean, it does make sense with the ability to recognize that, right? Because I am actually going through sciatica since New Year's Eve, and now in recovery mode and everything. Now speaking to a few people, you know, acupuncture and all that stuff. But the doctor, which I really don't like to visit every time, just looks at one thing, because I had the lower back problem ongoing, comes and goes, and they never find anything. They never find anything. They're like, yeah, we can't see anything, no inflammation, nothing. So we don't know what causes it, right? So
I feel you.
Yeah, so there was a point I really don't go to doctors anymore, but now I had to go because it was a shooting pain on the left side. I was literally crying, so I had to go. So they've given me some strong painkillers. Hence, I'm sitting now. Usually, I'm standing now. Sorry, usually I'm sitting, so because I cannot sit, so standing is okay. But yeah, so I can feel that, because when I'm there, all the doctors did was just checked if how my movement was and everything, right? And then just prescribed me some tablets, and then booked me a physio with one of the person there, which I need to go and see, and you know, just say, yeah, rest, walk it off, and that's it, right? And I'm thinking, oh, okay, so what's it? It's not really stopping for it to coming back again after whenever it decides to come, and yeah, so and understanding that how habits and things make these happen, and if the doctors are trained into also asking those questions of habits and psychology side of things, would actually help, because it will make me think about it, you know.
Yeah.
Few things that have happened since I've been going through recovering sciatica. Few things has happened around me with some friends and family members, which have now also made me think, right, oh, I need to look at these lifestyle choices so I don't get seriously ill like the others that are around me. But I love that you're obviously it was a logical choice for you, because you were aware of it. You can see it was happening because you were in there, right? So the question would be, right, so when you pivoted and you started doing the other side now, and combining them both together, what was the commonality that came across to you? And I know some of your friends were saying, okay, you know, I wish the doctors were asking me this. So when you now started doing this, what I know it was, everybody has up and down, like a roller coaster ride. Was that similar for you, or was it smooth sailing? How was that journey for you when you decided to, you know, start doing this and combine your old together?
Honestly, I cannot say that this path has been a smooth journey for me, because I had quite a traumatic past, and having ADHD definitely played a massive role in this, because this is a genetic, you know, specificity, I guess, or the way how your nervous system works, and it kind of determines the life. So without knowing, it really played a massive role. And since it's a genetic thing, my mom also has it, and how she parented me and how it reflected on our relationships and how it traumatized me also, you know, definitely matters. So it wasn't a smooth sailing. I always felt quite turbulent with my emotions, I guess. And when I was a teenager, I was trying to understand why it happens to me. And then I guess I developed an eating disorder as a coping mechanism, and also it was kind of a way to release my impulses, because my ADHD is hyperactive impulsive. So it started off as overeating, you know, and then not eating. So this like roller coaster, which is obsessive compulsive, you know, eating.
Yeah.
And then it went into bulimia, and then it turned into anorexia. So when I was studying physiotherapy, I actually was living through an eating disorder, and I don't know how I graduated from university with all of the, you know, difficulties. So at that time, I actually went to a therapist, and I saw how it was working on me. And my whole family also went to see a therapist, because an eating disorders family therapy is the main therapy. And I just started seeing results. And at the same time, I had this insight, oh, look, mental health is the basis for all. And I kept on going to a psychologist for, 4 years straight, and successfully came out of my eating disorder. And I guess this self-help or self-development stayed with me for the whole life, I guess. And this thought of, I want to study psychology and I see how it works and it makes so much sense to me. I've tried other things as well, mindfulness and esoterical things like astrology and tarology and all of this. But I guess only mental health therapy and coaching made so much sense to me. So finally, 3 years ago, I went into the university and started studying. And for a year and a half now, I'm a certified life coach, and I'm practicing with people. This is how it was.
I love that, obviously, and thank you for sharing the vulnerability there as well, because a lot of people won't actually share that, going through that journey of all the way to being bulimic and yo-yoing through those diets, because it is out there. I've met people who it's not controllable. It's not in their control, and also you having the ADHD. I've also come across. Obviously, I do not have a lot of understanding of it, but hearing from others, it is an experience of like totally different wiring to everybody else, right? So everything that you will do is going to be particularly different to what commonly is being performed across, and on top of that, you have to then manage your fears and everything that you're going through, right? So the traumatic experiences. So take us through what you're now doing. You're obviously working with relationship, sexuality, shame and guilt. What does that look like, and what do your clients get out of it, and who obviously are the best clients for you when in those areas?
The best clients for me are those who have always been interested in exploring their sexuality, but for some reason have been suppressing it and not allowing themselves to go through this journey. I have went through this journey, and I guess I'm still going through this journey myself on different levels. Coming from a very traumatic past, on top of eating disorder, I also was sexually abused. And I guess it was a very big dissonance for me, because I knew from the beginning, like from childhood, that my sexuality is very strong. And this is determined by a scientific term that's called sexual constitution, which is almost like the color of your eyes. It's genetic and given to you. So my whole family and I have this strong sexual constitution. So pretty early on, I felt like really interested in those topics. But, because of different reasons and shame around this topic and my parenting, and also coming from a Slavic background. I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian, born into the family from post-USSR, or USSR actually. This shame of sexuality and self-expression and being different was really a taboo topic. And I, by birth, was very different, having ADHD and having this strong sexual constitution and being interested in those topics. I didn't fit into the box. So, it was suppressed. And then when I was 25 and I came out of a very toxic relationship, I was like, when will I start living if not now? There are all these things I wanted to try, and I trust myself enough. And I just went and tried everything I ever wanted. And, becoming trained as a coach and learning methods on how to help a person dive deep into their core and understand what they really value and why is it so important for them. That's what I do. And because I can relate to what people say so much, and because I guess they feel very safe with me, these are the clients that come to me, and their questions are usually, I guess I want a relationship, but I also want to not commit, and I want to explore, and maybe I want to go to a sex club, and I don't know, what if I like female and I'm a female, but am I homosexual, heterosexual, and all of these questions. So I work with people who want to accept and dive deeper and understand themselves better. These are my best clients.
I love that, and it's one of the main subjects out there nowadays with so many people who also are suppressed with these sort of conversations. It is a taboo subject with a lot of families, right? And how I also look at it sometimes is there was a generation before us anyway, because they didn't know how to verbalize this. They weren't given the education of it, so therefore they don't understand it. They have the best interest in their heart for us, but because there is no understanding of how do you manage this, how do you deal with this, it was just a shared subject. No, I cannot answer this, so therefore you do not ask me, or just you can't do anything. It's a bit of like when you wanted for a long time, a lot of people, well, still I think in some places, when you talk about that, I'm seeing a psychiatrist or a shrink, it felt like, oh, something wrong with you, right? And
yeah.
like, no, you don't need to have something wrong with you. You just want to understand from a person who's educated about it and get a different perspective of understanding of it. And I love that you're helping everybody with this, understanding themselves, exploring their sexuality as well, and living shamelessly. So I love that. So once you've been doing all this now, so the question would be, what's the best routine for you? I mean, are you a morning person or a late person? What kind of person are you?
My routine. I'm laughing
if there
because,
is one.
yeah, if there is one. Before, let's say up until 2 years ago, I was a very strict person
Regimental.
with a schedule, and I had to know what I'm doing. I had a plan. It had to be only this way, as many people can relate. And I was pushing myself, and I was doing all of these 1,000 routines in the morning, doing the 5-minute journal, the meditation, and then the correct breakfast, and God forbid, and then maybe something like intermittent fasting, and all of these, things like a beehive in my head. And essentially it all speaks about fear of letting go of control and not having reliance to the self. And at some point, I would say maybe 1.5 years ago, I felt like I'm so over all of this. I just want to feel when I want to wake up, feel what I want to do in the morning, feel when and what I want to eat, if I want to eat. So I can say I don't have a particular routine. There are certain things I enjoy doing in the morning for the sake of pleasure and what helps me kind of settle into the day and my working mode. I like having coffee in the morning and just, calmly sitting and not rushing anywhere. I may or may not have breakfast depending on how I feel, whether I'm hungry or not. And then depending on what kind of day I have, if it's client work, then I just get into the client work. And if it's not client work, then I usually study. I study a lot on the topic, constantly develop myself. So I just try to, when I eat, I try to make sure that I cover all the nutrients. And when I rest, I try to rest. And when I do something, I try to be mindful. And when I, want to get good night's sleep, I go to bed early. That's what I do.
I love that. And what I'm hearing in this as well is like you're going with the flow. You're something that is working for you, and see how the day is. Obviously, you do have a plan for the day because you've got a client call or so forth, whichever that is. But you're just having to look at, okay, how to best look at yourself and well-being, because a lot of people in the work industry where everybody talks about work-life balance, this is what your work is, and where the balance is when you work for yourself, you're your own business. So how do you now balance that? And what I'm hearing from that is you have found a balance where you wake up, have your coffee, and may have a breakfast or not, just depends on your mood, and which is great, because this is one thing I appreciate about myself in terms of I do it. I don't eat for the sake of eating it, because of how everybody just say, oh, it's breakfast time, we need to eat. Always lunchtime, we need to eat. Always dinner time, we need to eat. I only eat when I'm feeling hungry to eat. Otherwise, I can just go through the day with juices and drinks and things. That's fine. And that's, I was hearing something similar with yourself there, and I love that. So in regards to, obviously you've been through your meditation and journaling and everything, and now you're doing this. Do you suggest people to try out various different things before, so that they can find their own?
Exactly, yes. I firmly believe there is no one rule fits all. The only routine, I will circle back a little bit, but it's all connected. The only routine that I practice mindfully right now is to live through my emotions and live through the states of being that I am in. So if something really upsets me, I used to rationalize it a lot, you know, because my brain is really fast and I can explain all I want. And this is what many people do, because it decreases the anxiety and there is kind of no uncertainty, but it's just an imaginary no uncertainty. In reality, what they're doing is that they're shutting down their emotions, whichever they are, and rationalizing, because this is a protective mechanism. So I consciously stopped doing this, and I allow myself to live through whatever I feel. If it's disappointment, I'm sitting there and thinking, I'm disappointed. Yes, I take responsibility for this disappointment. Like, yeah, I am feeling it, and it's important to feel it right now. You know, that's the only routine I do, I guess. And what was
I
your
love that.
question?
No, but this is right. Exactly what the way you answered it, it fits in perfectly there. And I love that. It's taking the ownership, and having the discipline of taking that ownership and recognizing that it's all in your hand, how your day is going to be like, and how you respond to that, what is happening to you on that day. Because I avoided the word react, because reaction is you doing something without knowing, and in a panic. Whereas response is, you know what's happened to you, you acknowledge it, and let's see what we can do so that it doesn't happen again, or what can we do so that our day continues in a way that we want it to be. And I love that you've touched upon this. So moving on to, in terms of your, is there something that you would like to share with people? You know, there are 7 habits that everybody talks about of highly effective people, and there's a lovely book out there about it. Is there
I
something
haven't
that?
read it. I confess.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to check it out. I haven't finished it yet, so that's all I'll say. Um, is there something that you recognize is like working for you in part of the habits that you've and you're continuing it?
Honestly, the only habit I would recommend, and I'm doing it for 7 years now, is therapy and coaching, really. Weekly or bi-weekly. This is the best investment that one can make in themselves, because there are so many things in life that we're taught to do, even the 7 habits of successful people. So somebody is taking their perspective on life and trying to share it, and then others take it as, I have to do it this way. No, now my response is, why do you really have to do this way? Does it really suit you? So instead of following a certain list and then feeling an anxiety that you cannot adhere to a certain standard that not you even set for yourself, but somebody else kind of, you know, flooded you with this, just invest in therapy and coaching and find this, you know, self-reliance and core, and understand who you are, and just live your life the way you want.
I love that, so beautifully put, in terms of, you know, because what will also resonate with me there is, you know, even coaches need coaches, and therapy sessions, and so forth, and
Yeah.
you know, even coaches need help. So coaches are not superhumans out there. We are also learning. One thing coaches and ourselves we have accepted is that we are a lifelong learners. So we are always learning, we are always developing, we are always bettering ourselves. So that should be a habit that people should adapt to, is to be always open to learning and opportunities to better themselves. which are always available out there.
Yeah.
If you look for it, they are there so that we are able to help ourselves and be better. So moving on to in terms of as what you are doing now, your business and your work now allows you to have a lot of time for yourself. How are you managing that? I know you've said in the past you were scheduling and everything. How do you do things now? Do you still schedule stuff, or is it just put on a list?
Yes, I do schedule stuff, and here I really want to talk to you about one, having personal responsibility as an adult human being and scheduling things and committing to things that bring you money, that make you grow, that interest you. And another aspect of it is allowing yourself to have freedom and spontaneity, and when you have time to perhaps not do anything and just rest. Because I will circle back to work-life balance. As a coach, I work a lot with this, and there is so much burnout and so much anguish and so much unhappiness and depression about how people live, professionally, and how they, I guess, move about their day and whatever. When it comes to work-life balance, it almost seems like with this book, 7 Habits of Successful People, like you have to push yourself to the limits to adhere to a certain standard, and fear of missing on opportunity, which only creates even more burnout, even more disappointment, and even more anguish with life or in life. And another one is when you just know that there are certain things and you're an adult and responsible human being and you do them, and the rest you leave to joy, because life is to be enjoyed, right?
Yes, yes, it is exactly, and I love that the beautifully put answer there for everybody to take away from here. So we will be wrapping this up shortly as well. And before we do wrap this up, I usually ask everybody, all my guests, is, what would you like to say before we wrap this up for people who've been listening to us throughout the journey? What would you like to leave the people with?
I will use something that came up in my session with a client that finished just half an hour ago before we connected. We were discussing trust, and she was talking about having trust issues in relationships. And essentially, anything that has to do with external trust comes back to your own trust. Do you trust yourself with your personal boundaries, with how much you can handle, or whether you can handle emotions or not, whether you can communicate in a certain way, or whether you can refrain from communicating and say, no, I don't want to communicate, or I don't want to do certain things. So one thing that I would definitely say is trust yourself, or try to develop this trust. Listen to yourself more, and definitely invest in, therapy, coaching, and even psychiatry if you need to. I have all 3 of them, and my life is amazing. So I'm not afraid of shrinks and psychiatrists, and very proud of.
I love that. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing this. So how can everybody listening to this now on Instagram Live or later on as a podcast version can reach out to you? What's the best way?
The best way is to reach out on Instagram. This is where I respond. I might not be posting stories because I do consciously take breaks because posting takes a lot of resources for me. But I do read messages and I do respond, so that's the best way. Yeah, I guess. And then we can take it from there.
Awesome. I love that. So Natali, thank you very much for your amazing time today and sharing such an amazing journey and wonderful tips for people to take away as well. Everybody who's been listening to this today with us live or listening to this as a podcast version, if you had a aha moment or a spark in you whilst we were listening to this episode, it's now our duty and your duty to share this episode with whomever has just popped in your mind, or you think that should be listening to this. because you might just create the same spark in them, and that's all we need to take that step or move forward or turn the light on, whatever that is, because we don't know who's just gone to bed or woken up thinking of a better day. And if this episode has made that shift in you, I might create that shift in them as well. Natali, thank you very much for your time and day, for hopping on to this Tuesday Talk. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Zishan.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.